Banning all religious gatherings, the Archbishop of Manila says that they will still hold Holy Week celebrations at a limited church capacity. And it's final. Gyms, spas, and internet cafes in Metro Manila will be shut down for 2 weeks in a bid to curb the spread of COVID-19. And after days of recording all-time highs, the health department logged 5,800 new COVID-19 cases today. And some passengers are complaining about last-minute changes to their flight schedules as confusion on domestic travel restrictions abound. And oceanographer Deo Onda has officially made history as the first Filipino to reach the third deepest point in the world. Fast, focused, and fearless. Here's a roundup of stories we're watching now. I'm Sean Yao. The Archdiocese of Manila says it will hold religious gatherings at very limited capacity this Holy Week. That is, despite the recent IATF directive prohibiting all church gatherings. In a pastoral instruction, Manila Archbishop Broderick Pabilio said they will hold church gatherings at 10% capacity. Pabilio said participants will be spread out and will comply with strict health protocols. Outside activities such as cenaculo, pabasa, processions, and visita iglesia will not be held. Pabilio also urged the Catholic faithful to join Holy Week activities online, saying that they may still participate from the comfort of their homes. And Metro Manila mayors have ordered the temporary closure of several high-risk venues and businesses, such as gyms and internet cafes. This is in a bid to curb the spread of COVID-19, especially now that variants have been detected in all cities across the capital region. Greg Gregorio with the story.
More than 5,800 new COVID-19 cases were reported on Tuesday, the fifth highest single-day tally this year. The Health Department reiterates that aside from the public's poor compliance to minimum health protocols, the spread of variants also contributes to the surge in infections. The agency reports that 5% of 4,310 samples subjected to genome sequencing are positive for the B117 or UK variant. Meanwhile, 4% tested positive for the B1351 or the South African variant, and only one case of the Brazilian variant has been confirmed so far. Health Secretary Francisco Duque III said the variants have already spread across Metro Manila.
Pareho po ito ay nakitaan sa NCR at saka din po sa CAR at pati ang returning overseas Filipinos ay nakitaan din pong malaking bilang.
With this, the government has decided to shut down gyms, spas, and internet cafes for 2 weeks. Officials are reiterating the need for compliance to health protocols in workplaces and other establishments. These include the maximum 30% venue capacity in business places and 50% in outdoor restaurants. The Labor Department warns business owners and companies of fines and other penalties for violation.
This is now part of the OSH law and its IRR, which is the Republic Act 11058 and the DOLE DO 198, and there are administrative fines that are daily fines for non-compliance.
The Trade Department says the restrictions may be extended if the uptrend in cases continues.
We do not know what will be discussed in the IATF. We do not know if they will extend it or add more restrictions. Hindi po natin alam. Kaya it's a warning to everybody, both business and consumer, to please comply.
As for the vaccines, the pending master listing of recipients among other priority sectors have yet to be finalized.
And the definitions po of the essential sectors is something that the recovery cluster headed by NEDA will be releasing very soon.
This comes as the government plans to simultaneously inoculate healthcare and other frontline workers, senior citizens, and people with comorbidities. For News 5, Greg Gregorio, we are One News.
And today's 5,867 COVID-19 infections brought the country's total caseload to above 677,000. Active cases now stand at more than 86,200. That is the highest since the onset of the pandemic. At least 20 more patients died of COVID-19 overnight, pushing the death toll to almost 13,000. Meanwhile, some 578,000 have recovered, including the 620 new survivors today. As for the country's vaccination drive, nearly 409,000 healthcare workers have been inoculated against COVID-19. In today's Palace briefing, vaccine czar Carlito Galvez Jr. said that some 1.1 million doses have been deployed nationwide. The country is also expecting to receive 400,000 doses from Sinovac tomorrow, arriving via a Philippine Airlines flight. Some 979,200 doses of AstraZeneca vaccines are also expected to arrive between March 24 and March 26, while another 1 million doses from China's Sinovac will be received on March 29. Palace spokesman Harry Roque said that the president will personally witness the delivery of the 1 million shots from Sinovac that were procured by the government. An Asian hospital's chief medical officer believes that the government should prioritize the NCR in vaccination since the region is the hotspot of cases. In an earlier interview with us, Dr. Jose Acuins also said that as of now, government is relying on hospitals to carry out vaccinations since healthcare workers are the first priority. The Asian hospital head said that it is important to take into consideration that many healthcare workers are not affiliated with any hospital and that government must find a way to inoculate them.
We haven't really penetrated the healthcare workers as far as I'm concerned because there are so many healthcare workers who have not yet been vaccinated. I think that we should first saturate the national capital region in terms of vaccination, since this is where the pandemic is really raging at this point.
We'll have more stories after this quick break. Stay with us. You're still watching One News Now. I'm Sean Yao. Some passengers are complaining about last-minute changes to their flight schedules brought about by confusion in the new domestic travel restrictions. Gerard de la Peña with the report.
This video was taken by one of many passengers who were supposed to fly to Caticlan on Monday, going to Boracay Island. They said they were already settled inside, but a personnel from the Civil Aeronautics Board had asked them to deplane because the flight was not given permission to push through.
Nagtataka kami kasi the two earlier flights of Cebu Pac, of AirAsia, and of PAL going to the same destination was, I believe, nakalipad sila. Some of our friends na nandun and some of the people who were with us, their associates or other people who booked an earlier flight were already there. And
the CAB personnel said earlier flights to the island will be meted out with penalties. AirAsia meanwhile admitted that they allowed those who had already checked in to fly. The passengers were allowed to enter Boracay, having completed the requirements.
Waiver na yon is part of our para siyang parang kasunduan din yon na kapag sakaling hindi sila tatanggapin because it's more of them the parang voluntarily ay they took on the flight because they still have the requirements, meron silang proof yung QR code na sila ay tatanggapin sa Boracay. So if in the event na hindi sila tatanggapin sa Boracay, the airline will not be liable.
Flag carrier Philippine Airlines, on the other hand, began canceling flights to Caticlan up to April 4. They said this will be a big setback since flights to the island have seen a twofold increase lately.
This is a bitter pill that the aviation industry has to deal with, and of course the passengers have to deal with. This is the ultimate sacrifice, but this is a necessary step towards healing and recovery.
Even those traveling by boat have their fair share of inconveniences. Elma's trip to Bohol via Cebu did not push through, and while she can take spending the night at the port to wait for the next trip, she said the additional expense for another RT-PCR test is too much for her.
Paano kung mag-expired ang iyong swab test? Nagbayad ako ng swab test ng 4,000 sa Lipa. Ngayon sabi ko, I'm willing naman sir na ako pagdating ng Cebu kung iswab ako uli, kung mapasa ang aking 72 hours, willing naman po ako magpa-swab test. Kaso nga lang, paano ang pera nga ibabayad sa swab test?
The government imposed travel restrictions until April 4 to contain the spread of COVID-19. For News 5, Gerard de la Peña, we are One News.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines has located some 180 of the reported 220 Chinese militia vessels at the Julian Felipe Reef in the West Philippine Sea. The AFP Western Command launched a maritime aerial patrol over the contested waters on Monday morning and counted a total of 183 Chinese ships. AFP Chief of Staff Cirilito Sobejana said they will continue to monitor the area in the coming days. For his part, Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana called on China to recall their ships encroaching the country's sovereign territory. The United States Embassy in Manila also expressed concern over the deployed vessels, accusing the Middle Kingdom of intimidating, provoking, and threatening other claimants. In lighter news, it is a historic day for the Filipino scientific community as oceanographer Deo Florence Onda successfully reached the Earth's third deepest point. The UP Marine Science Institute announced on Facebook that Onda's team has descended some 10,045 meters into the Emden Deep, located in the Philippine Trench. He is joined by Victor Vescovo, the current record holder for the deepest manned descent in the Marianas Trench last 2019. Onda, who is now set to explore our deep marine heritage, is the first and only Filipino who has dived into the Emden Deep.
At bottom, congrats.
For more updates, visit News 5, the Philippine Star, and Business World online. Visit our website, onenews.ph, for more in-depth analysis. You can also catch One News on the Signal Play app. Register for a free account at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. I'm Sean Yao. We are One News.